The story opens with the arrival of an alien fleet, massive ships gliding through space. The aliens are highly advanced, with technology that far surpasses humanity's capabilities. They have conquered countless worlds and have no real challenge in their path. However, Earth is their next target, and they approach it with confidence, expecting another easy conquest. They believe the primitive humans will be easy to subdue, just as the dozens of species before them had been. The aliens are led by a commander named Zeklar, a powerful being who is certain that nothing can stand in their way. He views humanity as insignificant, assuming that their rudimentary weapons and unrefined tactics will make them easy prey. Zeklar even finds their weapons laughable, confident in the superiority of their own technology. However, everything changes when they witness the humans' first act of resistance. The Earth Defense Forces, mostly comprised of everyday civilians, many of whom are veterans from past conflicts, launch an attack using advanced missile systems and a new type of weapon. The alien fleet, which had been expecting to face primitive technology, is shocked when a missile strikes one of their ships and causes a massive explosion. Zeklar and his team are stunned. In all his years of conquest, he has never seen anything like it. The human weapons do not just cause destruction, they have an intelligence to them, a design that even the alien fleet's most sophisticated systems struggle to counter. As the alien commanders watch from their ships, the humans launch more attacks, using tactical strikes that catch the aliens off guard. Zeklar watches in disbelief as more of his ships are hit, and he begins to realize something that shakes him to his core. Humans, the supposedly primitive species, have somehow weaponized something he's never encountered before: raw human ingenuity. Just as they are about to retaliate with their superior weapons, a human pilot makes a critical move. This moment of bravery and self-sacrifice in a desperate mission to hold off the invasion opens Zeklar's eyes to something he could never have predicted: human determination and the will to protect their home. This opening is crucial in setting the stage for the story's central conflict. The aliens believe that wars are easy because their technology is so advanced. But after encountering human resistance, they begin to realize that the true power of humanity is not in its weapons but in the spirit of the people who wield them. The twist comes when Zeklar, intrigued by this unexpected challenge, orders his forces to retreat for now, needing time to analyze the situation further. He knows that humanity must be crushed, but he doesn't understand yet why the humans seem willing to die for their planet. This mystery will unravel in the coming parts, keeping the audience on edge. The suspense builds as Zeklar orders his fleet to re-evaluate their strategy. What has been revealed to them today will cause the aliens to question everything they thought they knew about war and about Earth's inhabitants. After the alien fleet retreats into the far reaches of space, the situation on Earth takes a dramatic turn. The initial shockwave of the alien attack has now passed, and humanity begins to regroup, determined to fight back. Governments, military forces, and civilians unite under a single banner: the defense of their home planet. The Human Alliance quickly organizes an emergency summit, where military strategists and leaders from every nation work tirelessly to pool their resources and prepare for the next phase of the invasion. On Earth, the resilience of the human spirit becomes evident as families, friends, and communities come together to prepare for the battle ahead. Back in space, the alien fleet sits in eerie silence, with Zeklar pacing through the command center of his flagship. The walls are lined with holographic images of Earth, showing the planet's vulnerable surface and the weapon systems they are preparing to deploy. The alien commander is frustrated, as he struggles to understand the unexpected strength of humanity's resistance. He orders the alien scientists to analyze the human weapons in more depth, seeking any weakness or flaw that might allow them to overcome the unexpected challenge. The weapons they've seen thus far seem unlike anything the aliens have encountered before. Their technology is sophisticated, but it isn't perfect. There are flaws, but they are difficult to pinpoint. Zeklar's frustration turns to curiosity, as he begins to wonder if these human weapons could actually be the result of something more profound, something that goes beyond mere technology. Meanwhile, on Earth, human ingenuity continues to shine through. A group of young engineers, working out of a makeshift lab, develops a new defensive strategy using human resourcefulness and unconventional thinking. They create a series of cloaking devices to protect key military bases from further alien attacks. Though primitive by alien standards, these cloaks seem to be the key to disrupting the alien surveillance, allowing humanity to remain one step ahead in the war. As Zeklar's scientists continue to study the human weapons, they discover something shocking: the designs for the weapons aren't based on alien-like technology at all. In fact, they seem to have been built with a deep understanding of human emotional drive, specifically, the desire to protect loved ones and their home. The weapons themselves are crafted not from the advanced technology of the aliens, but from an almost instinctual drive to fight for survival. Zeklar finds himself more and more perplexed. The aliens have always seen war as a cold, logical pursuit, driven by superior technology. But now, they are beginning to see that humans fight not only with weapons but with something else: their hearts. In an effort to understand the humans better, Zeklar sends a reconnaissance team to Earth, hoping to observe the planet's inhabitants firsthand. They are instructed to stay hidden and monitor human behavior, especially in the aftermath of the surprise attack. The team watches as people work together, share resources, and even risk their lives to protect others. The emotional connections between human beings are more than just bonds of family and friendship; they are forces that move mountains in the face of adversity. Back on Earth, the leadership of the Human Alliance faces growing internal conflict. Some believe that they must continue to fight using military force, while others argue that they should try diplomacy, even knowing the aliens' violent tendencies. Despite these differences, the humanity of Earth remains its greatest asset: its ability to connect, empathize, and persist. The turning point in this part comes when one of the alien scouts, while observing a small human village, accidentally witnesses a mother's sacrifice. A mother who, in the middle of the invasion, refuses to leave her injured child behind, even as the aliens' ships descend upon her home. Her desperate act of love moves the scout, who begins to question the true nature of humanity. This is not a species that fights just to survive; this is a species that lives for each other. The scout, now deeply moved, returns to the alien fleet and reports back to Zeklar. The commander listens, stunned by what he's heard. It's the first time he's ever felt doubt in his mission. Can this be the same species he had once thought was easily conquerable? Zeklar struggles with his next orders. He now realizes that defeating humanity will require more than just superior technology; it will require something he had never anticipated: a test of the heart, not just the mind. This part ends with the aliens preparing for the next strike, but there is a heavy sense of uncertainty in the air. Zeklar is torn between the cold logic of war and the overwhelming emotions stirred by what he has learned about the human spirit. The alien fleet, although vast and advanced, was beginning to falter. Zeklar couldn't shake the creeping sensation that something had changed. Humans, despite their initial weakness, were becoming an unexpected threat. Their strategies were unpredictable. It wasn't the weapons that scared Zeklar, it was the resilience of the humans. Their ability to adapt, to fight against all odds, was a force he had not anticipated. The tides of war were turning, slowly but unmistakably. Across the globe, the human resistance had begun to coalesce into a far more unified and formidable force. What had started as scattered groups of civilians and soldiers was now an organized coalition. With technologies scavenged from alien wreckage, humans had turned their simple but effective weapons into something far more dangerous. Alien tech was being repurposed to power new fighter jets, weapons, and even makeshift shields. Maya's resistance group had grown in numbers. David, the former strategist, had started to believe in the possibilities. He had always been a man of logic, but even he had begun to see the humanity that was rising from this war, a force that had nothing to lose, and everything to fight for. The plan was simple: strike fast and hit hard. But there was one problem: they had no idea where to strike. The alien fleet was vast, and it had taken refuge in off-world stations that were difficult to pinpoint. Even with their newfound strength, human forces still lacked the proper intelligence to launch a decisive attack. It was then that Maya received a message. It was from an unlikely source, Julien, the mathematician from France, who had offered an unexpected insight during the earlier global summit. His calculations showed a weakness in the alien fleet's communication lines, a vulnerable blind spot they could exploit. "This is our chance." Maya read the message aloud as her team gathered around. "We can use this intel to disrupt their control systems, even if it's just for a few hours. It'll give us the opening we need to take down a major ship." David was skeptical. "It's a risky move. We don't have the luxury of mistakes." But Maya wasn't deterred. "If we don't take this chance, we might lose everything. We've fought too hard to give up now." The decision was made. They would launch a coordinated attack against one of the larger alien ships that had been laying waste to major cities. The attack would come from multiple angles, with Maya's resistance group leading the charge. In the shadows, humans were more than just soldiers; they were becoming strategists, engineers, and hackers, all working together to overcome an enemy that was far more advanced in terms of technology. The night before the mission, Maya stood in the command center, staring at a holographic map of the alien ship's location. It was massive, an entire city in itself, floating like a black cloud in the atmosphere. "We can't back down now," she whispered to herself. As the mission began, the coordinated attacks from the resistance groups hit their targets with precise accuracy. Explosions rocked the sky, sending shockwaves throughout the alien vessel. The humans had learned to use the element of surprise to their advantage, timing their strikes with precision and overwhelming the alien defenses. The alien ships, though advanced, were unprepared for the human resolve. Every blast from a human fighter seemed like a statement: they would not back down. Zeklar watched from his command center as his fleet struggled to repel the resistance's efforts. It wasn't just the weaponry that bothered him, it was the determination that seemed to emanate from every human fighter. He had underestimated them, and now, it was too late. "This shouldn't be possible," Zeklar said under his breath as human fighters maneuvered through their defense systems with remarkable efficiency. But it was more than just tactics. The humans had shown something that the aliens did not understand: purpose. As the battle raged on, Maya and her team found themselves closing in on the heart of the alien ship's main control center. The tension in the air was palpable as they approached the core. One critical move could mean the difference between victory and defeat. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the global resistance forces continued to strengthen. Messages from humans who had previously been caught off guard by the alien invasion began flooding in. Nations that had once been divided now stood united under a common banner. The human spirit was relentless, and the idea of surrender was no longer a possibility. In the Resistance's headquarters, President Jenkins sat with her advisors, watching as reports came in from all corners of the world. "They're holding their ground. They're pushing back." The president's eyes were fixed on the monitors. "I've never seen anything like it. The humans, they fight like they have nothing to lose," one advisor said, shaking his head in awe. "They have everything to lose," the president replied softly. "And they know it." Maya's heart pounded as she and her team approached the heart of the alien command center. The shifting metal corridors twisted around them, but there was no turning back now. The only thing on her mind was the mission, and the lives of all those who had sacrificed so much already. With a deep breath, she and David prepared to deliver the final blow. The alien ship's core was vulnerable. Maya took aim. The shot was perfectly timed, and the alien defenses finally cracked. The ship trembled as it began to falter, slowly but surely. The humans had won their first major victory. As Maya watched the alien ship begin to fall from the sky, she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time: hope. This was just the beginning. Humanity had proven something today. They weren't just survivors, they were fighters. And no one, not even the most advanced alien fleet, could take that away from them. Maya stood on the edge of the battlefield, watching as the remnants of the alien ship crashed into the barren landscape below. The night was eerily quiet after the chaos that had just unfolded, but the ground beneath her feet still vibrated from the shockwaves of the explosion. She took a slow, steady breath, her heart racing. They had won, but at what cost? As she turned to leave, a voice called out from behind her. Maya. She didn't need to look to know it was David. His voice carried the weight of 1,000 unsaid words. She faced him, and for the first time in a long while, she saw something other than resolve in his eyes. There was fear, but also a glimmer of admiration. We did it, Maya. She nodded, but her thoughts were already elsewhere. What now? The victory was monumental, but the war was far from over. The alien forces would only regroup and come back stronger. She could feel it in her bones. The true battle had just begun. Back at their command center, the team was already working to assess the damage and prepare for the next step. Zeklar, deep in the command room of his flagship, had watched the destruction unfold on his screens. The defeat was staggering, but what struck him even more was the human resolve. The unrelenting way they had fought against impossible odds. His second-in-command, Zorith, approached him with a grim look. Zeklar, we have reports from across the fleet. The humans, they're not just surviving, they're adapting. Zeklar turned his gaze toward the shattered remains of the ship on his screen, feeling a rush of disbelief and fury. The humans' resistance wasn't just physical, it was strategic. They were learning quickly, picking up on weaknesses in their advanced technology, exploiting gaps in their fleets. He stood up, pacing in agitation. What happened to their desperation? He muttered. What happened to the easy victory? Their adaptability, sir, it's unlike anything we've encountered. They're more than just insects to squash. Zorith hesitated. Perhaps we've underestimated them. Zeklar's eyes narrowed as he looked back at Zorith. Underestimated them? It's not too late. They'll fall, just like every other species. But inside, Zeklar couldn't shake the feeling of unease. The humans were far more than just the sum of their weapons. They were a force to be reckoned with. Together, they had something more powerful than even the most advanced technologies. Hope. Meanwhile, Maya's team had returned to their makeshift headquarters. The celebrations of the day were fleeting, there was no time to bask in glory. They needed to plan for the next step, and quickly. As she sat in the briefing room, surrounded by her fellow resistance fighters, her mind raced. They needed to capitalize on their recent victory, but how? The alien fleet had lost a significant ship, but Zeklar had made it clear that the war was far from over. Their technology was superior in many ways, but Maya could sense the tide of the war shifting. Her thoughts were interrupted by David, who entered the room with a new report. Maya, we've intercepted more alien communications. They're reassembling. Their next fleet will be larger, better coordinated, and they're coming for Earth. Maya clenched her fists, feeling the weight of the news settle in her chest. We've bought some time, but not enough. David nodded. We can't just keep reacting. We need to take the fight to them. It was then that Julien, the French mathematician, walked into the room with a hopeful expression. He had been working tirelessly, cracking codes and studying patterns in alien communication. I think I've figured it out, Maya. He placed a holographic map on the table, showing the next alien fleet's trajectory. If we hit them before they can complete their regrouping, we can prevent a second invasion. Maya's eyes lit up. How? Julien pointed to a vulnerable location. There's a gap in their fleet defenses. A weak spot they haven't accounted for. Maya stood up, staring at the map. This was their chance. One final blow could cripple the alien forces for good. This is it, then. We take the fight to them. We hit them hard, before they can hit us. Maya's voice was unwavering. Back on Zeklar's flagship, a new plan was forming. The human's ability to adapt was a new factor he had not anticipated, and it irritated him. He had always believed that strength was the key to control, but now, he realized there was something far more dangerous about humans: their will. Their tenacity. It wasn't just their weapons, it was their spirit that made them formidable. He turned to his generals. We need to send a message. Zorith raised an eyebrow. A message? Zeklar's gaze was cold. This war isn't just about victory. It's about showing them who truly rules the galaxy. It's time to strike back. The clock was ticking, and both sides were preparing for their final confrontation. Maya's plan was set into motion. The resistance would infiltrate and disable the alien fleet's main communication hub. In the meantime, the rest of the human forces would launch an all-out attack on the remaining alien ships. But even as they prepared, a new threat loomed on the horizon. Zeklar's counterattack would be unlike any other. The humans had no idea what they were about to face. As Maya prepared for what could be the final battle, she felt an overwhelming sense of resolve. The war was far from over, but the humans had already proven something important. They had proven that even in the face of a seemingly unstoppable force, their will was unbreakable. The coming days would test that resolve, but Maya knew one thing: no matter what, humanity would never back down. The days following their decision to take the fight directly to the aliens were filled with a sense of urgency that buzzed through the air like a live wire. Maya could feel the tension growing within the team. The plan had been set, the troops mobilized, and now it was just a matter of time before they would face the enemy head-on. There was no turning back now. The alien fleet, in the midst of regrouping, had become an even more formidable force. Their ships were designed for long-range attacks, with weaponry and shields that humans had yet to fully decipher. It was clear that Zeklar had begun deploying new technology, weapons that were specifically designed to counter the strength of human adaptability. But Maya was undeterred. If there was one thing she had learned about humans in the last few months, it was that they were more resilient than even the strongest of alien weaponry. As she stood at the command center, looking out at the screens, her mind went through the plan one more time. The team would infiltrate the alien fleet's main communication hub, located on the largest ship in the Armada. It was their only shot at crippling the enemy's coordination and breaking their unity before the final assault. But there was one problem: the hub was heavily fortified. The enemy knew that humans were capable of getting past almost any defense, so they had enhanced the ship's security tenfold. David walked up to her, his eyes grim but determined. Maya, we've got one shot at this. If we don't take out that communication hub, the alien fleet will regroup, and the Earth will be done for. Maya nodded, her fingers tapping the console in front of her. We won't fail. We've come this far, and we're not backing down now. On Zeklar's flagship, the alien commander had spent the last few hours observing the human tactics. The surprise attack at their base had caught them off guard, but now they were reacting swiftly. The intelligence reports showed that human forces were building up for a major assault, an assault aimed directly at their communications. Zeklar knew that if the humans succeeded in their mission, it could turn the tide of the entire war. We need to protect the hub at all costs, Zeklar muttered, more to himself than anyone else. If the humans get through, we'll lose control of everything. He turned sharply to his advisors. Alert all defense units. We can't afford to underestimate them again. The alien commanders moved to position their ships and prepare for the incoming attack. Zeklar's mind was sharp and calculating, but there was a deep, unsettling feeling within him. Could it be? Could the humans actually stand a chance against them? He shook the thought away. The battle wasn't over yet. The human team was gearing up. Maya and her squad were suited up for the mission of a lifetime. They would be boarding a stealth ship, capable of slipping through the alien fleet's defenses undetected. But once they entered the enemy ship, all bets were off. The team would have to fight through alien soldiers, disabling crucial systems and planting explosives on the communication hub. The pressure weighed heavily on Maya's shoulders. As she entered the hangar bay, she looked over her team. Julian, the genius mathematician, David, her unwavering second-in-command, and the rest of their diverse, highly skilled crew. These were the people who had brought them this far. She would not let them down. David stepped forward, offering her a solemn nod. Maya, we've got your back. Whatever happens, we do this together. Her heart swelled. She had always known that she wasn't in this alone, but hearing the words from David, her closest friend, made it all the more real. Together, they would face the enemy. Together, they would win. The stealth ship hummed to life as it lifted off the ground, its engines barely making a sound. It moved swiftly through the atmosphere, invisible to the alien detection systems above. Maya's grip tightened on the seat as she stared at the horizon below. She knew that once they reached the alien fleet, there would be no turning back. 10 minutes to entry point. The voice of the pilot echoed through the ship. Prepare for entry into enemy territory. Maya nodded, her mind running through the mission once more. The team would have to disable the enemy's advanced shielding systems first, to gain access to the communication hub. The shield generators were located in a heavily fortified room, and getting to it would be no easy task. But the team had no choice. Without the shield down, their explosives wouldn't even make it close to the hub. As the ship neared the alien fleet, Maya felt the weight of the world settle in her chest. This was it. She turned to David, who was already preparing his gear. His calm demeanor reassured her, but she knew what was at stake. David glanced at her and gave a small smile. We've got this. Maya smiled back, though it was tight. We have no choice. The final attack began as the stealth ship emerged from the shadows of space, moving swiftly towards the alien flagship. The massive ship loomed before them, its hull dark and imposing. Maya could feel the tension in the air as the crew worked in unison to execute their mission. The team disembarked, stepping onto the alien ship with a silent resolve. They moved swiftly through the corridors, their movements calculated and precise. The alien defenses were fierce, but the humans had anticipated every move. The team's training paid off, and they fought their way through waves of alien soldiers, using every advantage they had. Each step brought them closer to the communication hub. Back on Zeklar's flagship, the alien forces were beginning to panic. The human team was closer to the heart of the ship than they had expected. The aliens scrambled to mount a defense, but it was too late. Maya and her squad had reached the shield generator room. With swift precision, the team set the charges, preparing to bring down the shields. The explosion was set to detonate in 3 minutes. Maya's heart raced as the timer ticked down. This was the moment that would determine everything. She glanced at David one last time. Let's make history. The explosion rocked the ship, and the shield generators fell silent. The explosion reverberated through the alien flagship, a massive shockwave that shook the very structure of the ship. It was the moment they had been waiting for. The hum of the shields fell silent, and the way was clear. It's time. Maya whispered, her voice steady, though her heart was pounding in her chest. She turned to her team, their faces determined. They had fought their way to this point, and now, they were mere steps away from their goal, the communication hub. David looked up from the console, a mix of triumph and caution in his eyes. The shields are down, Maya. We've got a window of about 15 minutes to get in and plant the charges. Let's move. Maya ordered, and the team quickly advanced through the corridors of the alien ship. They moved with precision, knowing that this was their one shot. The alien forces were beginning to rally, and every second counted. Zeklar watched through the command center's viewing glass as the human team's progress became clear. His face darkened with realization. The humans were inside the flagship. The communications hub was within their reach, and if they succeeded in their mission, it would cripple the entire fleet. The implications were staggering. "Commander, the humans have breached our defenses." One of his officers reported, urgency thick in his voice. "They're headed straight for the communication hub." Zeklar clenched his fists. The humans had already surprised him once, and now it seemed they were capable of doing the unthinkable. He had underestimated them, but no more. It was time to act. "Mobilize all forces. Do not let them reach the hub." Zeklar's voice was cold and commanding. Maya's heart raced as she and her team neared the final corridor leading to the communications hub. The atmosphere was thick with tension, but she kept her focus sharp. Every step forward felt like it could be their last. The alien ship, a labyrinth of corridors and high-tech machinery, was starting to feel like a trap. Maya could sense the aliens were closing in. She glanced at David, who was ahead, his face grim. "We're almost there," David whispered, as he activated his earpiece to listen for any signs of movement. Suddenly, the loud clank of alien boots echoed down the hallway. The enemy was close, too close. Maya raised her hand, signaling for the team to stop. The moment of reckoning was upon them. "Take cover," Maya hissed under her breath. The team pressed against the walls, holding their breath. The alien soldiers rounded the corner, moving cautiously but purposefully. Maya's pulse quickened. This was it. The battle would happen now. Without warning, the team sprang into action. David and Julian dropped the first two aliens with quick, well-aimed shots. The rest of the squad followed suit, dispatching enemy forces in rapid succession. Maya's mind was a blur, her heart pounding as her hand gripped the weapon tighter. This was the human spirit at its finest, resourceful, fierce, and unstoppable. Within moments, the hallway was silent again, and the team moved forward, their target only yards away. The communication hub's doors stood before them, impenetrable steel guarding the heart of the alien command. But Maya knew this was just the beginning. They needed to plant the charges inside the hub, disrupt the aliens' command structure, and ensure that no communication could be sent out from the flagship. She stepped forward, analyzing the console beside the door. It was equipped with an advanced alien locking mechanism, one that had stumped many of their best hackers. But Maya was no stranger to overcoming impossible odds. She took a deep breath and activated the device from her belt, a special tool designed to hack into the alien systems. 5 minutes, Maya, David said, glancing at the timer. The clock was ticking, and she could feel the weight of it. There was no room for error. As she worked, every passing second felt like an eternity. Sweat beaded on her brow, but she didn't let it distract her. The door clicked open. They had broken through. Inside the hub, the walls were lined with alien technology, screens flickering with cryptic symbols and alien data. At the center of it all was the control room, a massive console pulsing with energy. Maya moved swiftly, scanning the room for any signs of hidden traps or alien soldiers. The moment they stepped inside, the door slammed shut behind them. The team immediately split up, with Maya and David working on the core systems, while the others secured the perimeter. But as Maya was setting up the explosives, she caught something in her peripheral vision, a strange, shifting light. The floor beneath her feet trembled, and she turned just in time to see the alien reinforcements pour in from hidden compartments. "Ambush!" Maya shouted. The door to the control room had been rigged to close, locking them inside. Alien soldiers surged into the hub, weapons raised. Maya's heart sank. The odds were against them, and time was running out. "We're outnumbered," David muttered, as he began to fire his weapon at the advancing aliens. "We need to finish planting those charges, or this will all be for nothing." Maya looked at the timer. 3 minutes left. She moved toward the core, her eyes locked on the countdown. The aliens were closing in, but she could sense something different about their movements. They were hesitant, almost confused. In that moment, the realization struck her. This wasn't just about the communication hub. This was the turning point for the war. We don't need to just destroy their ability to communicate. We need to make them question everything. She glanced at the core, where the explosives were now fully planted. With a deep breath, she hit the final activation button. The core surged with energy, and just as the timer reached 0, the entire flagship erupted in a blinding light. The explosion rattled through the entire alien flagship, the intensity of the blast causing the very foundations of the ship to groan and shake. Maya and her team staggered, bracing themselves against the shockwave, but they held their ground. The blinding light that flooded the control room slowly faded, revealing the chaos that had erupted. The alien systems were now completely offline, and their once imposing ship began to drift, vulnerable in the vast emptiness of space. "It's done, Maya." David's voice broke through the ringing in her ears. His tone was equal parts relief and disbelief. Maya didn't answer immediately. Her heart was still racing, her mind processing what had just happened. They had succeeded, but there was still so much uncertainty. The explosion had crippled the flagship, but the war wasn't over yet. "We've done it. But it's not over. We need to get out of here before their reinforcements arrive," Maya said, her voice steadied despite the chaos around them. The team quickly regrouped and made their way to the exit. They were exhausted, physically drained, but there was a spark of hope in their eyes. The humans had dealt a significant blow to the alien fleet, but Maya knew better than to get too comfortable. This victory wasn't the end, it was only the beginning. Zeklar stood in the command center of his flagship, his eyes cold and calculating as he watched the damage unfold on his monitors. The human strike had been devastating, but it wasn't enough to win the war. The communications network was down, but their fleet was still intact. They could rebuild. He clenched his fists. Human ingenuity, he thought. It had caught him off guard, but no more. Zeklar knew he could adapt, could change tactics. "Commander, we've detected a breach in the flagship's security system. The human team has completed their mission," one of his officers reported with a note of urgency. Zeklar turned sharply, his gaze hardening. "Prepare the fleet for immediate retaliation. We will not allow them to think they've won." Back on Earth, the news had spread like wildfire. The defeat of the alien flagship was more than just a tactical victory, it was a symbol of humanity's resilience. But Maya knew that this win wouldn't be enough to turn the tide of the war completely. The aliens were far from finished. And there was still a fight ahead. Maya's face, marked by exhaustion, softened slightly as she sat in the small, dimly lit room of their transport ship. She was alone for the moment, but her mind was not at rest. The victory was only partial, and the world she had fought so hard to protect was still at risk. As the ship began its return journey to Earth, the familiar weight of the war still hung heavy in the air. The humans had proven their strength, but Maya knew that their victory was not a guaranteed one. The aliens would fight harder now, angrier, more desperate. They had tasted defeat for the first time, and that could only mean one thing: the next battle would be even more brutal. The days that followed were filled with brief moments of celebration. News outlets across the globe hailed the success of the human forces. But for Maya and her team, the victory felt hollow. There was no time for rest, no time to reflect on their accomplishment. The war was still raging, and the fight was far from over. But something inside Maya began to change. The victory they had secured was significant, not just because of its strategic importance, but because of what it proved about the human spirit. The aliens had underestimated them, had believed that the humans were weak, easily broken. But they had seen now that humanity was resilient, resourceful, and unpredictable. "What if we've already won?" David asked her one night, after the weight of the day's tasks had taken its toll. Maya looked at him, her tired eyes filled with a new understanding. "We've won by showing them that we're not like anything they've ever faced before. We can fight, we can survive, and we will keep moving forward." David nodded, his face reflecting the same hope. "They won't stop coming, but they'll never be able to stop us either." Zeklar's voice was as cold as ever as he addressed his fleet. "The humans think they've won. But they don't understand that we've only just begun. They will face a reckoning like no other. Prepare yourselves, for their triumph is fleeting." But as his fleet rallied behind him, a small part of him began to question, what if the humans were truly different? What if they were capable of things that even his advanced forces could not predict? The uncertainty gnawed at him, but Zeklar quickly pushed it aside. It was too late for doubt now. In the weeks that followed, Maya and her team would face many more challenges. The aliens would not relent. Their counterattacks were swift and fierce, but the humans had the momentum now. They had proved themselves, and each victory, no matter how small, brought them closer to the ultimate goal, freedom from the alien threat. And as they fought on, a new understanding grew among the human forces. They were no longer just defending Earth, they were defending the very spirit of humanity itself. As the final battle approached, Maya stood before her team, her gaze unwavering. She knew what was at stake. And she knew the road ahead would be filled with even greater trials. But she also knew one undeniable truth: the humans had the will to win. "We will fight together, no matter what. We will protect what matters most," she said, her voice firm with conviction.